If you are a non-designer trying to DIY your brand and marketing materials, I got you. I'm gonna share 5 game-changing tricks that will take your designs to the next level. Let's talk about it. What up, y'all? I'm Liz Marie, a brand strategist and creative who's helping women and BIPOC-owned brands level up and take over the world, pretty much. That's about it. So today we're talking design, and I am all about design as a designer myself, and I'm the first person to tell you it is worth the money to invest in a professional designer. But the reality is, we don't all got it like that, especially when we're first getting started. And there are so many tools and resources you can use now to create your own designs, Canva being one of my favorites. So go for it, go ahead, DIY that shit. But there are some things to keep in mind because it takes a long time to learn how to do design really, really well, and I want you to be successful. So here's the big idea. Design is in the details. When the average person looks at something that is well designed or really visually appealing, they may not be able to articulate exactly why that is. In fact, that's usually one of the challenges that I have when clients like something and don't know how to express why they like it. And most of the time that comes down to the little bitty details. So I'm gonna share 5 tips about how to master those details. I guarantee after you watch this video, when you put them into practice, your designs are gonna be like transformed. So number 1, pick your focal point. When you're creating a design, it could be a flyer, a business card, a website, whatever, you're trying to draw someone in and capture their attention to make them dig deeper. And the reality is attention spans are wild these days. So you have like a split second to capture someone's attention. And one of the mistakes that most non-designers make is having a million elements all on the page or within the design that are all competing. It's like 100 voices all yelling at you. So when someone looks at it, they don't know where to look. Good design starts with one key focal point that draws the eye first and then uses the other elements to move your eye around the design. This is how you create hierarchy and rhythm in your design and guide the viewer through the experience of consuming it. There are 2 really easy ways to create this sense of hierarchy. The first and most obvious one is size. So you have a really big element, then a slightly smaller, slightly smaller, slightly smaller, and your eye is gonna draw downward like a funnel. And you can use that in all of your designs. In fact, I'll come back to that when we talk about type, but you should be using size to position elements to draw your eye around the design. The other way to do that is with color. So darker colors have more visual weight, meaning they attract more attention. So you can use a combination of color and size or scale to create a focal point and hierarchy in your design. Number 2, use big margins, AKA all the white space. If you have watched my luxury brand design video on how to look expensive, you know that I'm all about white space. In fact, that is one of the key elements that makes something look expensive and look really polished. Good designers are masters of how to utilize the space on the page or within the design, but it's one of the hardest things for non-designers to get the hang of. Again, most people want to cram their design full of stuff. They think if it's really simple and doesn't have a lot going on, that it's not gonna look professional or well designed. In fact, it's the opposite. It's much easier to do something really complex. It takes a lot more sophistication to make something really simple. So when in doubt, more space equals more elevated. And that plays perfectly into point number 1, because if you're trying to draw attention to one thing, a great way to do that is to put a lot of space around it so your eye goes to the only element in a big empty space. One of the easiest ways to do this is to create really big margins on whatever your design you're using, because it's gonna give you an airy, expensive feel. Number 3, align all of the elements within the page. If you've ever written an essay or used Google Docs, you're familiar with left aligning, centering, or right aligning text. The same goes for every single element on your design, your logo, your graphics, the text. There should be a rhyme and reason to how those things line up. One of the most common mistakes is completely randomly mixing alignments. So there's something left aligned, right aligned, center aligned, left aligned, and maybe another piece that's left aligned, but those 2 don't quite add up. In fact, I often see that where there are a lot of items that are all left aligned, but really they're slightly off from each other. And so instead of creating this nice clean line that draws your eye down, it's kind of jagged and it just looks messy. And to be honest, I see this all the time, even with professional designers. It's one of the first things I look at to really critique someone's design. So if you can master this, you're gonna be ahead of the game. One of the most common ways to go about this is to align everything in the center. And this works with designs that don't have a ton going on and don't have large blocks of text, but you can center your logo, center your headline, center your text, and any other graphics, and it's just gonna look really clean and guide someone's eye down the page. Another layout that I use all of the time is contrasting left and right aligned elements. So I do this a lot on Instagram, where in the top left corner, I'll position an element, and then I'll have something in the middle, and then I'll have something in the bottom right. So it draws your eye across the page. But when in doubt, just pick one type of alignment and stick to it. And make sure that all of the elements are actually aligned. Another way to make sure that you're getting really good alignment is to use the grid feature or the margins feature. Make sure that those are turned on when you're creating a design, and you can see very clearly if all of your elements line up. Number 4, pick 4 to 6 type treatments and stick to them. You may have heard me rant that typography is one of the most important elements of design and is the hardest thing to master and the biggest giveaways that you're not a good designer. In fact, many professional designers haven't quite mastered it because it's hard and it's very nuanced. It's one of my biggest design pet peeves. So I'm gonna give you my secret to completely mastering this once and for all. So going back to the idea of having hierarchy in your page, you wanna think of your fonts like you're creating an outline. So you have the most important point, then the second most important point, third, fourth, and so on. In fact, in web design, you'll see these called headings, and you have headings 1 through 6, and then you have your paragraphs or your body copy. And I like to implement that for all of my brand design. So I create up to 6 different header styles. Not all brands need 6, but usually I create at least 4, plus a body copy style and maybe a pull quote. When I say a style, I mean a font variation. That doesn't mean a completely different font. In fact, I recommend using really no more than 2 different font families, like Arial plus Times New Roman, usually no more than that. But going even deeper, you don't want to use that many font variations. That includes italics or a bold or a black or a light, the thicker or thinner fonts. You want to keep it really simple. So just pick a few different variations that you want to work with. For example, Helvetica Bold and Helvetica Light. Those are your 2 variations. That's it, period. That's all you're doing. And then within your header hierarchy, you can change the size, you can change whether it's bold or light, you can change the color, you can change the capitalization. And so for each header, make 1 or 2 changes that draw attention to that element and make it distinct from the other headers. The key is to not go too crazy and change too many different things. But once you land on your hierarchy of all of your different headers and then your body font, you use that every single time, everywhere you design on your website, every flyer, your business cards, your documents, use it everywhere. Every Instagram post, use the same exact hierarchy. And that creates brand consistency and it helps your designs look really, really good. Here's a little glimpse of my favorite type hierarchy. I use some variation of this on a lot of my projects. All right, and the last final tip is to edit. Less is more. Like I said, it is way easier to be complex. It is harder to be simple and sophisticated. So when in doubt, take something out. When in doubt, don't over design. Don't do too much. Don't add something just for the sake of adding it. You want all of the elements of your design to have a purpose and to add to the overall effect, not just be decorative or there just for the sake of doing it. All right, I hope these tips were helpful and I can't wait to see you put them into practice, because with these tips, you're gonna be well on your way to becoming a masterful designer. So drop a comment and let me know if you learned something new. And if you want more tips like these for small business owners, you can join my new monthly membership program. All the details are in the description below. Until next time, stay badass. All right, y'all, if you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down there. And check me out at LizMarieStrategy or LizMarieStrategy.com.